Today is Thursday, June 1st, 2023, the beginning of Pride Month, or, as it's come to be commonly called, Corporate Pandering Month in America. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. In the past few years, corporations in America have begun to show their solidarity with the LGBTQ movement, making displays, particularly in the month of June, to try to show folks in the gay and lesbian community that they are part and parcel with them. They're down with the struggle, so to speak. But that sort of begs the question, is all this virtue signaling on the part of corporate America really doing them any good? And that also sort of begs another question. Okay, even if you feel this way, why are you so hell-bent for leather to make these obvious overtures and displays? I thought we'd take a look at some of the more recent examples of what's going on in corporate America, show the reaction of the American people, and then maybe try and figure out why it is that this is happening. Well, let's start first of all with the biggest, or I should say most worthy news item that's been going on for probably the past 2 months, Bud Light. In a story from the New York Post, headline, Bud Light risks losing number one status in U.S. as sales plunge 25.7% in latest week. In an article written by Lisa Fickenshire, Bud Light sales suffered their worst week ever, falling 25.7%, endangering its status as the number one beer brand, according to the latest data provided to the Post on Tuesday. The plunge followed a 24.6% decline from the previous week and the sixth straight week since sales have been hit since trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney promoted Bud Light on April the 1st. The precipitous drop has narrowed the gap in sales between Bud Light and nearest rival Modelo Especial, which saw its sales surge 9.2% for the week ending May 20, according to Bump Williams Consulting and Nielsen IQ data. Now, we've been following this story off and on, and basically, for those of you who have been living under a rock for the past 2 months, in the beginning of April, Bud Light entered into a contractual relationship with trans activist Dylan Mulvaney to do a promotion for Bud Light. Well, the reaction has been so bad and so visceral that Bud Light is losing stock and value to the point that at the pace they're going downward, by the end of this year, Modelo Especial will overtake them as the number one sold beer in America. Now, it doesn't matter what Anheuser-Busch InBev, the parent company of Bud Light, has tried to do. Nothing has stemmed this slide. But in the midst of all that, you got to give Anheuser-Busch credit. They're consistent because they're not backing off of their support of the LGBTQ community. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this. Here's a headline from the Daily Wire. Bud Light announces $200,000 donation to LGBT Chamber of Commerce despite ongoing boycott. Article written by Spencer Lindquist. Bud Light has announced that the brand is donating $200,000 to the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce despite facing an ongoing boycott over its partnership with social media influencer Dylan Mulvaney, a biological man who identifies as a transgendered woman. Parent company Anheuser-Busch announced the donation to the NGLCC, which defines itself as the business voice of the LGBT community in the May 30th press release titled, Bud Light and the NGLCC continue to empower LGBTQ plus, Jesus, we've got so many initials, owned business across America. We look forward to extending our work with the NGLCC to continue making a positive impact on the LGBTQ plus businesses that play a critical role in bringing people everywhere together. So, they're losing money, they're losing stock value. They're losing market cap, and they're still continuing to do this. But they are not the only company of news of late. Let me show you some more information, and this comes across very interestingly. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. This came out just today. Now, Target. If you haven't heard about this one, Target is in the ire of many moms in America because they went to their local Target store to discover LGBTQ onesies and tuck-friendly swimwear, which they were definitely not planning on seeing when they went to get their groceries and maybe buy some clothes for the kids. How badly is the reaction to all this hitting Target? Well, take a look at this. Post-millennial. Target stock downgraded by J.P. Morgan after sales tank over Pride merch for kids. Article written by Hannah Nightingale. On Thursday, J.P. Morgan downgraded Target stock from overweight to neutral as the shopping giant experiences its longest losing streak on its stock in 23 years. According to MarketWatch, Target stock ended Wednesday's session down 2.2%. This marks the 9th straight day of decline, and it's the company's longest losing streak on its stock since the 11-day stretch in February of 2000. In pre-market trading on Thursday, Target shares fell an additional 1.7%. The stock has fallen 12.2% so far in 2023, and that equates, ladies and gentlemen, to a loss of $12 billion. That's how badly Target's bleeding over all this. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, here's a headline from Fox Business. $12.4 billion, shares at their lowest level since 2020. Absolutely amazing. And yet, Target is still standing by everything they're doing and still continuing on with this. But they are not the only company. Here's some more interesting factoids for you. Here's one that broke about a week ago from the DC Inquirer regarding North Face. You know, all that wonderful outdoor wear apparel that you put on when you're going out in the woods. Well, Patagonia is coming for you. We are coming for you. The North Face goes full woke with new ad featuring drag queen asking customers to come out in Summer of Pride campaign. Article written by Sterling Masley. On Wednesday, the North Face, the outdoor apparel company, launched a new campaign ad titled Out in Nature. The campaign was launched with a now viral ad featuring a homosexual drag queen asking viewers to come out. The North Face Pride collection, which can be viewed on its website, features various clothing options emblazoned with the rainbow with merchandise for both adults and kids. In addition to the merch, the company also partnered with the drag queen Patagonia to hold their second annual Summer of Pride tour. So you might be asking yourself, so what kind of reaction did people have to this? Let me show you. This will be very interesting when you see it. In a tweet by Ollie London, the North Face parent company VF Corp has lost 11.48% of value within the last 5 days after consumers expressed outrage at the new Summer of Pride campaign, which encourages children to use pronouns and to come out. And I'll give you one more. Just when you thought that that at least one American institution was safe, not so much. This sort of thing is even getting to the LA Dodgers. Take a look at this. In an article from Just the News, Catholic group launches $1 million campaign calling for a boycott of the LA Dodgers. Quote, "There is no place for anti-Catholic bigotry," the Catholic Vote President Brian Birch wrote in a letter to the LA Dodgers. In an article written by Charlotte Hazard, one of the largest Catholic organizations has issued a letter to the Los Angeles Dodgers announcing an ad calling for a boycott of the team. Catholic Vote President Brian Birch sent the letter to Dodger principal owner Mark Walter and CEO Stan Kasten. Quote, "I represent the nation's largest lay Catholic advocacy organization," Birch wrote, according to Fox News. "We are supported by millions of devoted Catholics across America who believe that the time-honored values of life, family, and freedom, which the Dodgers used to celebrate, are demonstrably good for America and worthy of respect, not ridicule. We wrote you last week with a reasonable ask. Do not honor this anti-Catholic hate group. There is no place for anti-Catholic bigotry, mocking our religious sisters, or celebrating a perverse activist group whose identity is marked by blasphemy and mockery of Catholics. Earlier this month, the LA Dodgers announced that they would be honoring a drag group on Pride Night that goes by the name Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, a group of queer and trans nuns with a history of anti-Catholic messaging. And yet the LA Dodgers are still going forward with it. Now, you listen to all these examples, and you got to start asking yourself the question. They're going woke. They're definitely going broke, because from the evidence I presented, and any place else that you're going to go find it, it's quite obvious. These corporations are losing money. In other words, they're engaging in activities that are contrary to their own financial best interests. Which sort of begs the natural question. If you know this has the potential to cost you money, why do you continue to do it? Well, somebody may have come up with an answer. Don't know that's the final answer on this, but it's definitely worth some consideration. I found this tweet thread by a gentleman named Clint Russell, goes by the nickname Liberty Lockdown on the internet, or Twitter, I should say, specifically. Let me show you something. I'm embarrassed to admit it, I didn't really understand ESG until 2021. As a finance guy and an entrepreneur, I never believed this was possible. Why would a business commit suicide? The skeleton key to understanding this conspiracy was, however, predictable. Follow the money. I spent 5 years watching company after company commit seppuku, alienating their customers before I dug in. I should have identified more quickly than anything this unsustainable had to be government-driven. Only a printing press and state power could bring down capitalism to its knees. Once I connected the dots to the UN climate change plans from 2004, I knew I was onto something. When I realized the WEF picked up the mantle around Occupy Wall Street, it became clear. The people who run the world knew that the populist left was coming for them. They had to pivot, they had to subdue them. Not by acquiescence to their demands, but rather lip service to the causes that they loved. Tax the rich was replaced by save the planet. No corporate bailouts became we'll hire you based on racial quotas and address you by your preferred pronouns. It's a pittance. But surprisingly, it worked. Academia had created fertile ground for these ploys to work against the left, and boy, did they. Back to the money. Because the financial world is one that is most regulated industries on earth, contrary to popular opinion, the framework was already in place. You want to be a good major player in finance? You better have a good relationship with the government. That sweet-ass printing press don't come free. Need a bailout? Sure, but we're going to need a favor. Mafia style, the government starts doling out offers you can't refuse. I make zero excuses for the CEOs that accepted it. Absolute scumbags they are, but I understand why they did it. Like a drug dealer, if I don't do it, someone else will. All we have to do is go green and implement racist hiring programs under diversity, equity, inclusion programs. Where's the harm, they said. Here's the harm, you traitors. Your employees hate their jobs now. They walk on eggshells every single day. Fearing the next microaggression, they stopped forming real relationships with coworkers. They're miserable. Instead of focusing on innovation, they've all focused on self-preservation. This spells doom. Competitors now arise to eat your lunch. The only thing preventing them from total conquest is finance. Big boys like BlackRock and now most major lending institutions refuse to fund these upstarts unless they too go woke. I'd call it corporate capture, but the truth is that the banking giants and the government's interests are so similarly aligned that at this point they are indiscernible, aka fascism. It's here and Antifa are on their side, LMAO. But here's the good news. You can lock us down, you can tax us into oblivion, you can even force a vaccine. But when you came for the kids with this sexual indoctrination, you crossed the line. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, what he's getting at is this. It has reached the point that because of ESG and DEI, that banks will lend money, but you've got to engage in the right social policies. You've got to say the right things. You've got to do the right things. So it's not really an issue that corporate America is virtue signaling to the LGBTQ plus community as much as they're virtue signaling to the bank saying, hey, we're saying and doing the right things. Give us the money. And you wonder why corporate America is doing all this? It's like Deep Throat told Bernstein, follow the money. But that's what I think about it. What do you think? As we start to wrap this up, please do me some favors as always. Number one, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do so. Number two, please leave a comment below. It always helps out the algorithm. Number three, share the video around. Number four, give me a thumbs up. And number five, come back again. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm your Front Porch Conservative, and I'll see you next time.